They got it!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? My name is Blue and welcome to the 16th MPW Weekly Conquest Cup. We are here today and 7 teams are going to step up to the plate for their opportunity to be crowned this week's champion. This week we have Outplayed by Children, No Clue, Team LagLife, Excelsior, Death and Taxes, Sharks with Lasers, and Team Teamwork coming into play. Our first match is set and ready to go here, and we're going to be showing it on stream for you in just a few moments, and that match will be Team No Clue taking on Team LagLife. We're not going to waste any more time though, guys, so let's jump directly into the first game as we head in, checking out the builds very, very quickly indeed. Starting off with the red side where we have a rather interesting double elementalist, double engineer comp on this team. So I believe this team was kind of tossed together at the last second, but I could be wrong. This could be something. They could be trying something new here today, so we're going to take a quick look at the builds. First off, Malad over here does have a staff at the moment, and because of the blasting staff trait, this means he'll probably be sticking with it when the game actually begins, running with a Celestial Amulet and Runes of Strength. Again, lots of support, lots of AoE from this build. We'll have some trouble doing some direct damage, but he'll have a pretty high survivability as well, just in general with this build, so he can be a very pesky target if he heads off over towards a side node as well, but at the same time, he'll also be very potent in those mid-fights. First engineer for this red team is going to be running with Rifle Celestial Control Engie. Runes of Hobrex will be taking that a little bit more of a defensive route with that in mind, and then of course the pretty usual trait spread for this kind of build with 60062. We sometimes do see the extra 2 points not going into alchemy, but going on over here to get the cripple wrench instead, but he will be taking the extra defensive options of getting both backpack regenerator and protection injection here. Nedzez Sum, apologies, let me see if this is someone I already know so I can pronounce his name properly. Didn't get much time to actually check it out, but as we report, nope, unfortunately, but we'll call him Need or Ned over here. He's going to be running with a fairly typical Condi and Necromancer build here at the moment with the Karen Amulet Runes of the Nightmare. Has the 4 points into death magic, so is also going to get that. Actually, no, not running with Reaper's Protection there for some reason, instead choosing to take Greater Mark, so we're going to see how that pays off for him, as he will not have that second kind of instant fear knockback in case any high crit targets try to jump onto him like the Thief or something, so we'll leave him a little bit more vulnerable, but obviously again, we'll be getting the bonuses to his marks through the choice of that. Other than that, though, it is a fairly standard Condi Necro build, so we'll be seeing him used quite efficiently in the team fights. Interesting choice to note the use of Epidemic here as well. We don't see it used too often, but going off of history, on this map specifically, it is really, really good if you're able to get an excellent Epidemic off, and it can completely end a team fight in just one ability use. So we'll see how that is played, of course, when we get to the team fight itself. Taking a look over here at Torrent, who is playing with a Pistol Shield Celestial Engie, somewhat similar to the build we saw Spoonker run, but just the only difference really being the choices of utilities. I think a couple different kits are being utilized here. Actually, nope. So with the only differences being is the fact that Spoon Girl has opted to take the Elixir Gun, whereas we move over here to Torment, and he has the Elixir S, which obviously he can use to keep himself alive, and that South Elixir S is going to be a pretty nice stomp and res utility as well there. And then last but not least, we have Serenti Sky, who is going to be playing DD Celestial with Holbrecht for that extra defensive option. Very high sustained build indeed. Lots of support to kind of toss into the fight and help keep yourself alive. And as well, because of the Holbrecht runes, he is going to be stacking up damage as the fight goes on. Won't have too much at the beginning of it, but we'll slowly get more and more of it. Now moving over to the blue team very quickly, we have Team No Clue. Starting off with Rin Kizamura, he's running with the Celestial Rifle Engie as well. Basically the same exact thing as Spoon Girl, the only difference being the choice to take Power Wrench instead of getting the protection injection over here in Alchemy, so don't need to be talking about that too much. Kalek over here is running with 00626 Hambo build. Lots of CC in this build, lots of AoE pressure on the longbow as well, and very, very tanky indeed, so it's going to be a very hard target to take down. And if their Guardian actually ends up going down, he can kind of serve as a secondary bunker. Doesn't have as much support, obviously, but can still take just as much damage, if not more damage, than the Bunker Guardian can. Heck over here is actually going to be playing DPS Guardian, so with that in mind, Kalek will actually be acting pretty much as the full bunker when you consider the rest of the members on their team. But of course, Heck being on the DPS Guardian with the Zerker's Amulet and Runes of the Traveler, he'll have pretty decent mobility. The jumps will be pretty reliant on it, obviously enemies being in position there there, but nonetheless, he'll have lots and lots of DPS to bring into play. Interesting note of the Scepter and Focus build here as well, instead of taking a Sword and Focus there. I personally prefer the Sword Focus just to get that little bit of extra damage, but obviously the Scepter route is just as good too because it gives you that extra ranged option. Other than that, though, it is a fairly typical DPS Guardian build, 21614. Moving on from that, we've got Aviatori 20066, again, Flavor of the Month Sword Dagger build here at the moment with a short bow as well as Zerker Amulet and Runes of Strength. Lots of poke, lots of dodges, very high sustain, but the damage is kind of lower when you compare it to a DP Thief build or something like that, but at the same time, it'll still stack up that strength as the game is going onward due to the Runes of Strength obviously being employed here. And then last but not least, you've got Hitui, who is playing a similar build that we saw Need playing on the other team, but he's actually going for a Doomfire build, so much more damage will be used in play. Won't have as many defensive options, but will be dishing out a lot more damage. And also, because of this, he's going to be running it with a Rabbit Amulet here. It's going to make him a little bit more squishier, in my opinion, but he'll still be just as effective, if not more effective in terms of the overall damage output than Need will be. But with the builds out of the way, guys, we can pretty much get started here with the first game. Just gonna tell the teams to get ready now. And also, guys, we do have to apologize in advance there for the late start we had going today. We did have a fairly full cup the past few weeks. We've only been having a smaller number of teams, so we had to rally our admins and get ourselves prepped and ready to go. But everything is set up now in our other games and as well in this one too. So now with everything prepared, we can get things rolling, hopefully without stopping for too long of any breaks tonight. But with that said, I just gave the teams the signal to ready up, so as soon as they are good to go, we will get started with this best of 3 set. Another thing to note too, for anyone that is new to the Misspedia Weekly Cups, we do not use the standard map rotation in the Misspedia Weekly Cups. We actually have a map voting system that is done before the game begins. We'll do a 3-second countdown and take a heads or tails roll, and of course we'll randomize that, and the person who wins that will get to pick the first map or get the color choice for all 3 maps. So with that said, I believe we had Team LagLife winning the coin toss, which means they got to pick the Legacy and Temple maps, and then No Clue getting the second map choice also got the color choice, which means they are going to have the blue side. And to be completely honest, the blue side probably does have a slight advantage on this map when you consider again over here that the waterfall point is a lot easier to defend and keep stalemated. I do believe, to be completely honest, that red team is going to be kind of sending some guys over here at the start, so it's not a terrible thing at all, just having that bit of extra security. That of course can also work against you if you have one of these guys over here on the red team just seeking to stalemate it. It can be also a bit of a pain when you consider the LOS that can be abused over here at the waterfall point. But anyway, our teams have readied up and are set to go, so let's get to it, guys. Best of 3 set. First team, the 2 points, moves on to the semifinals. It is Team LagLife versus Team No Clue. We may have to do a quick reset here as we do have the lag. Just wondering if they need to do the reset now.
Hold on to your points.
And alright, we're getting a no signal on the reset, so with that said, we're going, guys. Coming directly out of the gates, it's looking like a 3-2 split from Team LagLife. They're going to send, it looks like, again, one of their NGs, one of their Ellies, and their Necro, of course, going over there in the middle. The Necro is probably going to be camping around mid for the majority of this game when you consider the build he is running, but blue team having all 3 of their offenders heading over here to the quarry. There's going to be a lot of damage on this node when you consider, again, you've got the DPS guard, and you've got Aviatori on Thief, and a Tui as well with a very, very aggressive Necro Condi build here at the moment. All going to be over here, going to be very much reliant on Torrent to keep himself up and alive, but not surprised at all to see him going into the downstate. Very quick recovery, though, on Torrent, almost immediately getting him back up into play. Very, very well done there indeed, but unfortunately, it's not going to give him much breathing room here. Still, already, you can see Condi's coming on to him from the blue team Necromancer over there, but at the same time, to note this too, back over towards mid, Rin Kizamura was actually knocked out of play, so red team taking an advantage over there too. Very, very quick deeps coming in here from Team LagLife overall, and as well, it looks like they are slowly starting to fend off the members of Team No Clue. As you can see, they are getting pushed off this point slowly but surely. Riggedy Wrecked, or Heck as he is known as over there, unfortunately getting knocked off too, and red team kind of just pushing these guys around here at the moment. So blue team should have, actually no, red team screws up there. Sorrenti Sky goes off on his own and he dies too, so this is still a fairly close fight, but we're gonna have to wait and see who actually ends up taking it. On the other nodes though, back towards middle, we did see, as it would appear, red team has a pretty secure hold on that, and then as well the waterfall looks like it went pretty confidently into the favor of the blue team there as as well. But with that said, all of it will come down to the fight over here at Quarry. Taking a look at Avi here again. Red team does have that, just in general, that overall a little bit more bulkiness to their team composition here. Blue team is focused a little bit more on fighting as a group, as a team, but they can get a much more heavier punch than the red team can really get as a singular unit there as well. So keep that in mind as this fight goes on. But overall, it will still leave the blue team as individual members much squishier, which means that, again, with the smaller skirmishes being over here at Quarry, that does give a very slight advantage to the members of the red team, and you can see that coming into effect here right now. Aviatori in a very tough spot here at the moment. Lots of Condi's taking on him, just 2 seconds away from a heal, but it looks like he will be able to dodge out of the way of that, just barely surviving there too. One more attack from Torn, and he would have gone into the downstate. Definitely not in the safe territory yet, so he's going to be sticking around mid over here, where it looks like his team actually will be able to take control of this node in just a few moments too. We had this 2v1 going on, some offenders coming in from the blue team over towards Waterfall after they captured that, so in just a few seconds here, they're going to be getting full control of the Quarry, and the red team, unfortunately, will have to actually readjust to that as well, as they're going to be sending what appears to be 1 or 2 of their guys back over towards that point. They're going to come a little bit too late, however, and we will see blue team getting that full cap, which means that once again, with the 2 cap, they're really going to start rocketing ahead here. Red team really does need to start winning some of these fights. Again, there was a composition somewhat similar to this in the ESL Weekly Cup earlier today, where we just had kind of a lot of bulky players tossed together as a singular group, and they tried to just, again, use that bulk to stalemate as many fights as possible, and then just win smaller engagements. While that can work in a long game where you get the initial advantage, you cannot allow your opponents to get any momentum. Unfortunately for these guys over here on Team LagLife, they have allowed their opponents to get that momentum, so they're already working against a disadvantage here, a very early point in the game. Now, they can definitely bring it back. They can definitely, again, trick their opponents. As you can see here at the moment, they're actually making quite a bit of progress, catching out some of the stragglers here. Hitui has gone down. We had Riggedy Rector Heck going down a few moments ago, but he has just respawned, so he'll be back in just a few minutes. But again, they're making progress here. Rin Kizamura goes down, and they can keep this going and kind of halt the momentum here. They can definitely make a comeback and start to turn this lead around. But for the time being, our blue team having that 2 cap and having it pretty consistently, this is allowing them to take about a 80-point lead here against their opponents at the moment. There's no other action going on besides the midpoint though, so we're just going to stay glued onto that. We're currently looking at Torrent once again, who is playing that Celestial Condi engine here with the pistol and shield being utilized here as well. Torrent, however, is going to move himself over here. Actually turns around there as Mallet is going to attempt to do the same job as him, and that job will be to go over there towards the Waterfall and decap. That is again what this team needs to do. Just try to expand themselves as much as humanly possible and try to force their opponents to do the same, because if they can do that, they can force those stalemates and they can again take an advantage over a very long game here. And you can see an effect of that here too. Now that blue team has somewhat reinforced themselves towards middle, it's not really going to be to their benefit to try and push a fight, because again, they're not really built for a large, huge 4-on-4 or 4-on-5 or 5-on-5 team fight over there. So with that said, they do want to try to push for side note too. They do want to try to engage on smaller fights, and with that said, try to take advantages there where they will probably actually have the advantage. Take a look over here. You've got Avi going up against 3 members of the red team. Ren and Hitui both off-node fighters here, so when you consider that in mind too, this will be a pretty serious disadvantage for a blue team member to fight on. Riggedy Rector Heck is coming onto the node there, but again, keep in mind too, he's rather squishy as well, so he's not really built for standing on node. They really need to get their warrior over here and try to fight this, but unfortunately he is otherwise busy trying to see where his location is here at the moment. Calic is back over here towards middle, trying to tank the offense from the red team at the moment. Both Spoon Girl and Needs are in here, so unfortunately he's not going to be available to support that fight back over towards Waterfall, which will definitely hurt them on the blue team. They do, however, seem to be handling it quite well as we head back over there. Again, they spread themselves out, and they've managed to spread out the members of the red team here too and force them kind of away from the node. You've obviously got, again, Mallet on the node itself, but again, with, I believe it is over here, Torrent kind of off the node here too, and really not able to put that extra pressure onto both Heck and Rin. Unfortunately, Mallet is just going to be open for the taking here from the DPS coming in from Heck as well as Rin, and he will not be lasting very long at all. Torrent is going to make one last attempt to come over here, but with Avi kind of running circles around him here at the moment, there's a very low chance that he will be able to get Mallet back up, and then as well the Torrent will go down here too. So with that said, in just a second, blue team's going to take back control of that node. Now, once again, they are going to get their regroup back over here towards middle in just a second too. You've already got full 4 members from Team No Clue fighting back over here towards the graveyard point. Spoon Girl and Sorrenti Sky are here along with Needs, but Needs in a very bad position over here is going to get absolutely ganked by those 4 members from the blue team, and there's very little chance that he himself will get back up here too. So once again, it's going to be another kill scored by the members of No Clue, and they're just going to continue to push the red team out of this point. Red team, however, have been doing a very nice job, but this is one of the issues with the kind of comps like this that we have been seeing over the past few weeks coming into play, is the fact that, again, this sort of comp does not work when you're up against an organized team. And again, I know that's a strong statement, but I personally do still hold that reservation that a composition like this that is based around a bunch of solo fighters that try to fight on smaller nodes, it just, generally speaking, falls apart in the higher tier levels of the game, because again, against someone with really good rotations, against someone that can wipe up fights quickly enough, and against someone with enough burst, it can still knock them out quickly enough, and they can still completely out-rotate you, even if you do have some more bulkier characters in play and you try to fight that game. It just really, against a very organized team like we have over here on the blue team at the moment, it doesn't really work so well. But we're going to see once again, they still do have a couple saving graces. Blue team has not been so good at watching their home node, so if they are able to continue taking those back caps, which there may be another one right back over here, and just keeping those long game fights going where they pressure their opponents off nodes just due to pure AoE pressure, like you consider again here, Ren and Hitui both are not the best on node fighters here at the moment. You've got Spoon Girl who can fight on node much better, so there is a pretty decent chance actually that red team may score a full cap over here. If they can continue to pressure fights like that, then they can definitely still wrap this game back around in their favor too. Heading back over to the quarry, you actually notice they just took that as well, so once again they're going to be getting some extra pressure reinforced over towards mid, and that will impede the blue team from sending their guys back over here to the waterfall to assist with that fight. Torrent, however, because it took a little bit too long, has gone into the downstate. Avi, Hitsui, and I believe one other member from the blue team, Ren Kizamura, doing a very nice job of keeping that cleave rolling and keeping it active onto this point. So with that said, we did see Torrent go down, but it looks like again there wasn't much follow-up on that. Blue team in general here with who they have playing at this node at the moment, not really a lot of corpse cleaves, so even if they do manage to take members of the red team into the downstate, they may actually have some trouble finishing them off due to the lack of that we just discussed earlier. You've still got Avi again with cluster bombs, but Avi's a very peculiar spot because he's an extremely squishy individual. If he waits in a fight for far too long, then unfortunately he is going to find himself in a rather unfortunate position, because again he's going to be just opening himself up to DPS. He'll have to wait for the appropriate time to come in there with corpse sleeve, or in general, again, the saving grace for the blue team here is that they do have Avi, and Avi can be a very annoying target regardless, so we can just continue to press extra DPS onto the people trying to res their own teammates. And as you can see, that's coming into full effect here right now. We did see Torrent going completely out of play. Hitui over here at the moment as well. So with that said, we are going to be seeing blue team getting a pretty consistent grab back over here at the waterfall. Heading back over towards the mid once again to see what we've got going on there. Spoon Girl just ganked out by both Avi and Raggedy Wrecked, and I believe another member of the red team is just going to be spawning in a second here too, Neds, which means he recently did actually spawn, or recently did actually get knocked out back over there towards mid. So at the current time, guys, it's looking pretty strong here for the blue team. Like I said, so far, beautiful rotations, very quick fights. This composition again here, you've got just so much damage here, which is very much so the enemy of what the red team on Team LagLife is running here at the moment. You've got, again, Avi over here on an SD Thief, and to be completely honest, he's probably one of the lower DPS members, but when you combine both him as well as Heck over here, just so much burst, and combine that as well with having Hitui in play on a very offensive Necromancer build. The POC builds have somewhat become the meta, the 06404 builds that we've seen used so often, but when we do see a Doomfire build, it personally, and again, and I'm speaking from this just kind of off of playing Doomfire builds versus playing POC builds, I personally find that the Doomfire builds just bring so much more DPS to the table, even with, like, it even just seems like it's not only from the burning ticks, but when you get traits in play like Chill of Death and whatnot too, that can add just so much more damage to your repertoire. It makes such a difference if you're able to coordinate it very well with your teammates. It does leave you very much so more open to DPS. I've noticed that as well, that the Doomfire builds are a lot squishier than the POC builds, but at the same time, the pure damage output, if you have a coordinated squad that can still peel for you and whatnot, just may be worth it in itself. So I think that's why they have chosen to take it here, and as you can see, it is working brilliantly, as they have taken a fairly dominant game one here. To be honest, I don't believe that Team LagLife is going to be able to make a comeback. They definitely still were fighting to the best of their abilities, and heading into map 2, there may still be an opportunity for them, but it looks like, once again here, that blue team has pretty much wrapped things up here in game 1. They're only 25 points away from taking a victory right here. So with that said, we're going to toss out congratulations to them. They will be up 1-0 in this set, and they will be one victory away from a spot in the semifinals, guys. As this game is ending, we are going to go to a very short break while we wait for the load in on map 2, but as soon as we get to it, we have a Battle of Kylo game coming up for you here in just a few minutes, guys. Stick around for the continuation of this set. And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the 16th Misspedia Weekly Conquest Cup. We are coming to you now in the continuation of the featured round of 8 set here between Team LagLife and No Clue. We just saw Game 1 go into the favor of Team No Clue over on Legacy of the Foe Fire, and we're now heading into Game 2 on the Battle of Kylo. No Clue is up, which means if they take this game, they're moving on to the semifinals. As for Team LagLife, if they take this one, we're heading to a Game 3 over, I believe, on the Temple of the Silent Storm. But anyway, the game has begun. We've got a pretty heavy emphasis going on over here towards the clock tower, but at the same time, note this on the minimap too, both of the engineers from the red team are pushing over towards the blue team home node. They were stumped, I believe it was by Hatui, specifically managed to fear them and stop them in their tracks there, and once again, that did enable the blue team to get the full cap over at their home node, so very well done in that regard. We're going to be seeing Needs transfer over here too, was chased by Kellic, but unfortunately is going to be, Kellic is actually going to be forced to turn around here just due to the fact that Neds got so far away. But anyway, back on the mansion node itself to check out what is actually happening here. We've got 3 members from Team LagLife trying to knock out 2 members from the blue team. Team LagLife, unfortunately for the members on the blue team, has far greater superior on-point pressure here, and just due to that, they've been forced off the node and been thrown into a decap scenario. But we will see the transfer coming in from Silent Soul as well as he gets onto this node. It's going to add a lot more chaos for the red team to deal with here too, and this will finally give blue team the initiative needed to get back on the node. You can instantly see that coming into play there. Good pull comes off from Ren Kizamura as well. The Kandi's getting thrown directly onto Neds over there too in an attempt to take him down. Mallet has actually gone down back over on mid too, which means probably looking at a pretty good scenario for the blue team to take control of that clock tower there. But for the time being, our red team does have a slight advantage. Things, however, back over here at the mansion are starting to deteriorate for the red team. But at the same time, Kellic is going to have to be careful here. He's under quite a bit of Kandi's pressure. You can see both Berserkers and Enduring Pain have both been popped at the exact same time here, which means he is under quite a bit of pressure. Red team, though, falling into the trap of trying to res up Needs there. We're going to see both members from the red team going down. Torrent and Needs are now both going to get knocked out. Spoon Girl, unfortunately for him, is going to be able to escape as he did not go onto that course, but at the same time, that entire rush is now going to fail. And once more, we're going to be looking at a pretty solid opener for Team No Clue as they take control of not only the clock tower, but they regain control of their home node here as well. Heading up into the clock tower now as we follow the point of view of Aviatori, the blue team thief at the moment. We are seeing other members of the red team under a lot of pressure over on this point. Mallet specifically over there really getting forced off the node here at the moment as red team tries their best to force these blue team members back, but unfortunately again, that momentum that we talked about earlier in the last game, just such a pain for Team LagLife to deal with. They need to stop it here, and they've been having some serious trouble doing so, and not only the last game, but in this game as well. But Aviatori in a bit of trouble here, pushed into a trap, as you can see, where it's surrounded by pretty much the entire hornet's nest of the red team at the moment. And oh my goodness, a clutch trap shot from nowhere knocks Aviatori out of play there. Very well done indeed. That is going to hurt him, and again, with Aviatory had to play. That's going to be a lot of mobility missing from the blue team repertoire. He's actually is going to try to resurrect himself, but unfortunately with Torrent kind of just waltzing by over here after hopping off the Trebuchet, that is going to stop any attempts of that. And with that said, red team is now going to move back over up onto the clock tower node to try and go for a team fight there. Interesting thing to note there too is that we did have Torrent on the Trebuchet itself, and I'll actually apologize, I did not see this, but with Kella coming over there, that was the reason he just jumped off of that. Keep in mind that as you can see here though, blue team does not have their full team fight back over here with them missing Kellic as well as Aviatory from the team fight. It has left things quite open, and red team again with that very good rotations, and again with the come out of baiting them on the tread there as well as knocking out that thief, that did give them kind of the space needed in order to get them onto this actual point here and get a much more better fight going in their favor. Unfortunately, they were not counting on this back over here. We do have Aviatory came off the spawn there, firing the Trebuchet towards middle, and that is seeming to hurt them very, very much so here at the moment. As you can see, already been forced off node. They're still going to get a kill off on Heck over here at the same time too, but it has stopped once again their own momentum in attempting to take this node away from the blue team. You can see that again, just forcing them off the general premises of the node. It is using all of their endurance that they need to dodge out of the way of the big abilities from the blue team, and it is just hurting them so much here. Avi though is only going to use that trap for a short amount of time, but the second he comes back into the mid fight, you can see once more just so much damage coming in over here onto Malad once again, and that's going to knock him out of play. Calic will come over and attempt to stop this, but we do have a double res coming in here at the moment. There's a small opportunity they can get it back up, but no, it does not look like that is going to be happening. Just a little bit too much DPS coming in onto his corpse for them to deal with there. So with that said, Malad will get knocked completely out. Red team though going to be a little bit more crafty than that. They did note the heavy emphasis on the pressure from blue. Apologies, they did note the heavy pressure coming in from the blue team on the clock tower, so they were able to go move themselves right over here to the mansion and actually take a pretty kind of harmless decap. Pretty little to no pressure whatsoever from the blue team on trying to stop that from happening there. Not sure what was going on there, if they were just a bit too tunnel vision on mid or some other reason, but for whatever reason it was, we did see red team getting the full cap there, and they will now hold a double cap. And this again, when you take a look at the scores, it should allow them to come back into the game, assuming they are able to hold it here for the next 20 to 30 seconds. But it looks like actually that's not going to be happening, because back over here at the waterfall, we did actually send Rinki Zamora coming in and sealing the cap away from Spoon Girl. Blue team will get some more support coming in, specifically from Heck here in just a couple seconds too, and there'll be a little bit of extra DPS for Spoon Girl to deal with. Keep in mind, Spoon Girl does have quite a bit of survivability utilities, but once those are gone here, Heck should be able to make pretty quick work of knocking Spoon Girl out of play, and you can see that already here. A lot of those cooldowns, I believe, unfortunately on Spoon Girl's end, have already been used, so he's not going to be surviving very long here at all. It is able to keep himself up and rolling long enough there in order to get a heal off, and now things look like they might turn around once more as we see not 2 but 3 members of the red team coming in to support this fight. You've got Mallet in play, you've got Torn in play here now too, and that again, Rin was not ready for those reinforcements. Need coming in from the side here as well, so with that said, Rin is unfortunately just going to get completely destroyed, and red team should have no issues whatsoever taking back this cap over the next few seconds. More reinforcements came in there from the blue team as well, and with that said, we may see a slight extension on this fight's duration, but overall it still looked like, based on who we have on the node and based on in general here who's been under pressure, that it still should end up going into red team favor. When you have people like Heck who have expenditured most of their cooldowns here, that is definitely going to hurt your ability to team fight and actually turn things around in your favor. So with that said, assuming Heck does go down here within the next few seconds, which is looking very likely, if Kellic is not able to get him back up and into play within, I'd say, 5 to 10 seconds, he will be pretty much dead meat, and as well, that'll be probably one of the tolling bells for the elimination of the blue team off this node. Excellent play there, I believe, with the ice bow coming in there too, and oh my goodness, all 3 members of the blue team get destroyed there by that ice bow. Not sure who played that. I want to say it was Malad, but if that was so, very, very well done indeed, and yep, it does appear as if that was the case. The Conjure Frostbow coming in there from Malad specifically is going to destroy all 3 members of the blue team from this node and allow them to take a cap. Now again, because the red team had to emphasize so heavily on the cap back over there at the windmill, they did actually lose control of the point they had back over here at the mansion. Serenity Sky specifically was the last player to die defending that node, and I believe at 2 he stayed back to capture that. But as well, they've got some more momentum. The red team does back over here on the clock tower, and they are holding the blue team back here. They've separated them up quite a bit. They're forcing the blue team to regroup. That's what they need. They need to buy time for themselves. They need to force their opponents to regroup and just in general get away from the fights. Big treb shot actually came in there, hit all 3 members of the red team though. And with that said, that's going to stop their pressure back on mid here too. They might need to rotate someone over there to stop that, as considering who's actually on the node, it is Heck or who's actually on the trebuchet, who is Heck at the moment here. I don't believe he's going to be leaving that anytime soon. That'll probably be consistent pressure for most, if not the entirety of the team fight over here. So it may be in their best interest for the red team to actually send someone over to that node and stop it from being capped. Regardless of the trebuchet, however, when you take a look here, it's really not impeding the red team super too much here at the moment. You can see that Kellogg Calic back over here has actually managed to take down one of the members of the red team. Won't be getting a kill, unfortunately, as there is still 2 other members up and alive, and surrounding and just in general being a pest to him. But at the same time, you've seen the full cap go back off over on Clock Tower, and in general, there is still plenty adequate enough pressure coming in here from the members of Team LagLife in order to actually secure their cap back over here on the mid. Now, once again, Aviatori doing a job that a thief will do, has managed to rotate back over here towards the windmill, and he's scored another decap back over here too. Keep in mind, that's another big advantage the blue team obviously is getting on this map too, is the fact that they have, just because they have a thief, again, that superior mobility advantage that red team cannot match at all, to be completely honest here. Avi is such a useful utility. We've said this plenty of times before. A thief can completely carry your team, even if you're not doing so on those team fights, just through decaps alone there. So with that said, he is doing his job quite well. Now keep in mind there that the rifle NG, especially with bombs being employed, is a very, very hard fight for Aviatori. He did try to stalemate that for as long as possible, but with his current action plan here, the second that 2v1 came into play, he did not want to screw around with that. He had to fall back, and at the very least, he's being forced to kind of rethink his scenario. Actually, a good bait there too. Red team, as they saw their NG move off node, and a call for more reinforcements was very appropriately timed too. Abby getting this initiation off, possibly forcing Spoongo to pop just a couple cooldowns, and then pretty much opening up the floodgates here for Heck to dive in and go for more DPS. Might have been a little bit too aggressive, as I still think it was fairly low to go for an engagement like that, and as you can see, he is now paying the price for that with him going into the downstate, but still, it did allow and did force quite a few members of the red team to fall back over towards this node, albeit it was unsuccessful, however. And with that said, red team with their very good defense is still going to hold on to a 2-cap here. We have a very, very close game on our hands here, guys. For anyone that can't actually see the scores at the moment here, we're only looking at a 40-point overall difference in favor of the blue team here. And again, if red team can hold in stalemate these 2 side cap fights, which is looking extremely likely here, considering not only, again, just in general the history of this matchup, but as well the comps over here on the red team, they should be able to make this comeback and possibly take the second game. We will have to wait and see, however, just how successful they are in doing so, as back over here there is a pretty good 2v2 going on, and in general the comps are pretty heavily favoring the blue team, if I do say so myself. You've got a 2e who can easily just stand off over towards the side node here and load up the members of the red team with Condies, and then you've got Calic over and some more running with Soldier's Hambo, who can easily just keep that node tanked for as long as he needs to. There is quite a bit of a lack of corpse cleave, and I was mentioning this in the last game too, back over here at this 2v2. So with this extra reinforcement coming out, I believe it being Sorrenti's Sky coming into play here, they are going to be able to get their teammate back up into play, and this will add obviously a little bit more pressure to the blue team for actually holding on to their victory over here. Sorrenti's Sky, though, we actually do see another member of Sorrenti's Sky. I believe it was Mallet actually that came over there with the Ice Bow once more, getting the lockdown on a 2e. Not too much of a follow-up with damage onto that, but regardless, they're still going to be forcing a 2e into a bit of a peculiar situation with holding on to his own health pool there. Another member of the red team still ends up going into the downstate though. NedZ going down here once more. We're going to see Heck coming in, trying to get a stomp, but actually ends up stopping that due to the low health pool. And once again, with him getting knocked out, that's just going to be less and less people that the red team has to fight over here. But they're still holding this stalemate, and they've not only decapped, but they fully captured mid here too. Really good job here so far with Team LagLife on the comeback. They've been behind this entire game so far. Really been fighting a losing battle, to be completely honest, but they've made an excellent stride over here in the last few moments of the game. Now, I do think personally, just taking a look at what we have going on here at the moment, that Torrent might be making a bit of a mistake going over here to the windmill, but when you consider as well that they do have the second engine coming into support, I'm actually going to take that back here. Very good coverage, moving over here to stop any caps from coming in from the blue team whatsoever, and as well getting that cap on and making sure that that is secured. That is what is important right now, as they do have this lead, but they've got to make sure that they do not lose it. Torrent versus Avi as well. Torrent should easily be able to hold on long enough to, if not get a full cap, knock out Avi in the process of all of that. And then as well, when you take a look at that fight that we still have happening back at the mansion, that's going into the blue team's favor, but I mean, they've stalemated it long enough to where we actually have seen Team LagLife getting a lead here now, so they've done the job needed, and letting their opponents get just one cap against them is not too big of a deal, especially considering they're all still wounded from that last fight, and they're not going to be able to fight at peak strength just coming into the middle point here now. You're even going to see Calic trying to transfer himself back over here to the windmill. Blue team has opted to fight for that instead of going towards middle, considering that, again, they have had an advantage going on, or they have had an engagement against red team members going on here for quite a lot longer than they have had going at mid. But keeping that in mind, though, there are only 30 points remaining until a red team victory is declared. We have a little over 40 points until a blue team victory can get it. It is one more kill. Those kills are going to mean so much at this point. Renki Zamora going down. We're at 482 with Renki Zamora getting knocked out. I do believe it'll be pretty safe to call it here for the red team. Calic's going to try his best to keep Ren up and in play, but I just do not see that happening. Calic, once again, as you can see here too, getting absolutely mauled by these Connies. He will go down, and red team with that excellent comeback, their excellent spreading out of their opponents, and just in general, their really, really good stalemating on those fights, they are going to be able to take round 2, bring this set up to 1-1, and toss us into a game 3, guys. So with that, we are going to be moving over to our third map in just a second. It will be a temple game, so lots of interesting fights coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll be taking another short break here, guys, as we load into the next map. So stick around for the conclusion of this opening set here at the MPW Weekly. Be right back, guys.
Starts soon. Last chance to nail down your strategy. Hold on to your points. Seize theirs.
And welcome back, folks, once again to the MPW Weekly Conquest Cup. We are heading now into the finals of it, or the final game at least, of this opening set here over on the Temple of the Silent Storm. It's Team LagLife taking on Team No Clue, and right off the bat here, we've got a big 4-man cross coming in from Team LagLife. Blue team did do a similar split, however, and they are going to have 4 guys from their team. Actually, it looks like 3 guys heading over to the far node. They did also send 1 person to mid, but he's since pulled off, and we've got 2 very split up fights. You will note that red team basically gave up their home node there. Their elementalist Serenti Sky is going to pile in over here towards the temple, or towards the altar node. And with that said, it's going to be a 4v3, I believe. Should even itself out to a 4v4 within the next few seconds, though. But for the time being, red team does have the advantage just through sheer numbers. That may stop very quickly, though, as we do have Sprungirl in downstate. They're trying very hard to get him back up. And again, that lack of any corpse cleave on the blue team is really starting to show here, as again, that should have easily been a kill with how slow they were getting Sprungirl back up. But unfortunately, for some reason, they were not able to get the execution off in time there. See up there, too, the Calyx going down. Calyx, technically speaking, for all intents and purposes, on the side of No Clue, is their bunker. So with him going out, that is really going to be the tolling of bad news here. You've got Heck going down here. Spoongirl is down, but there's no one to stop him. SR coming in, I believe it did go off onto Heck, but I think he actually got knocked out of it. Yeah, he wasn't stealth here, but he actually just squandered it with the auto attack. At the same time, Spoongirl still in the downstate, but there's nobody to cleave and actually nobody to knock him out of play. So with that, once again, we're going to see Spoongirl get up for the second time, and then both Abby and Heck are going to get knocked out, and this should be enough to give red team the cap over here. here at home. Very unfortunate indeed, and that does once more highlight what I was talking about a little bit in the past 2 games, where we just had absolutely no corpse cleave over on Team No Clue, and that really ended up hurting them there. They had a player down both times, but unfortunately, again, due to the fact that they really didn't try to punish that at all, or they really didn't have anything to punish it with, we just saw them getting up time and time again, and had they managed to kill him that second time, it would have saved 2 of their players, but due to the lack of anyone to adequately kind of do the DPS there, he actually got knocked out. So with that said, blue team is going to try to make another attempt back over here towards the middle point. You've got Renki Zamora coming in, 2 other guys over here towards the side trying to train down Needs as well. And Needs, unfortunately, probably will end up getting trained down over time when you consider who is actually on him here. And yep, there you go. He's going to fall into the downstate. Nothing much Torn can do besides stand on the door and just try to support through grenades. But he too will be made the target here in just a few moments. Does get pulled in the middle of his gear shield channel there as well. So with that said, there's going to be a lot of deeps rolling onto him here in just a few moments. Trying to see as well once more. Avi going to go for another decap back over there on the temple and should be able to get it pretty much unhindered. The Elementalist Sorrenti Sky, DD Ellie, for those that don't remember, is also going to come in and challenge him to a 1v1. I do believe Avi can win that 1v1, but I'm not entirely sure if he wants to fight it. DD, again, can be a very annoying 1v1 for an SD Thief when you just consider, again, that there's all that kind of spike within melee range that if he gets caught out with even one of those, it may be enough to toss him into the downstate 3, that there'll probably be a couple slowing condies that'll get thrown onto him in the process of that too. So instead, he just got to come over here towards mid, which generally speaking might have been a better choice anyway. There wasn't too much security in the fact that we had No Clue getting that node just as of yet, so him going over there was a pretty nice security to have. And as well, he can also rotate very quickly from middle back over here to his team's home node as they will attempt to possibly take that back once again here in just a few minutes too. And at the same time, they can just fight over here, keep a 2v2 going, and then probably head over back towards that far node in a second anyway if it's victorious. But as you saw there, once more, very impressive Condi spike coming out from, I believe, Neds there, and really immediately forcing him to pop most, if not all of his cooldowns. As you can see here, he's really got nothing left, Avi does, so he's going to have to be very, very careful indeed with Needs over here and the Condi application that could come out from him. We did have that 1130 buff spawning, so we're going to check in on that very quickly here too to try and see who's actually fighting for it at the moment. It did look like it was a 2v1 in favor of the blue team just a few moments ago, but it has shifted slightly to, I believe, a 2v1 in favor of the red team. Yeah, you've got Abby kind of floating around the general area here. Spoon Girl is actually probably going to resume the responsibilities, but for some reason, blue team, Abby, what are you doing? You don't see Spoon Girl, and Spoon Girl is going to get that ninja channel off with Abby not really paying too good of attention to that. And now once again, red team will bring their 2 cap up to a 4 cap here, and this should really allow them to just shoot ahead so far in this game. Malad, meanwhile, back on mid, has run into quite a bit of pressure, and because of that is going to end up going into the downstate. We have Spoon Girl coming in and will try to support, but unfortunately with Heck and Calic here, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Spoon Girl to actually get through and get Malad up with. So with that said, Malad will probably be going down very, very shortly, and that should give blue team finally a cap. But once more, this 4 cap that was claimed by the red team just a few seconds ago is absolutely killer for these guys. And with that said, that is going to pretty much give them, I believe, it's going to give them pretty much a 100-point lead to what was before only 20 to 30 points. And while it is still comebackable, it's really going to hurt. And getting it this early in the game is, to be honest, a very, very big deal here for the red team, as it's going to put blue team in a position where it's going to put them in a mental position too, where we're behind. And again, being behind is never a good thing just from the mental state of your team. So that does help with, again, just kind of having an advantage as well, just in the mental aspect of the game here. We don't really talk about that too much, but it is something to consider. The mental aspect of the players is always very good. If they're not in the right state of mind, it means they're not going to be playing to their fullest abilities, and obviously, again, that does hurt them in the long run of things. But with that said, blue team is going to be switching to a and again, this is how they've played so far for most of this set too, but right now they're going so aggressively over towards red team territory here. You can just see it on the big map. Sorry to move away for a second, but they've completely boxed them in over towards their home, though. The only person that's kind of out of the box at the moment is Spoon Girl back over here, who's going to attempt to push towards mid, but even that gets denied out here, and red team is just being forced in an enclosure here as they attempt to get something on their opponents. Now, keep in mind that while this is a very effective thing for blue team to do here, so long as it continues to work, the second this ends up screwing up and the second they start losing their guys, red team is going to snowball so hard through here. So it's a very risky maneuver that No Clue has chosen to take. Thankfully, it is working, however, and they kind of need to do this sort of thing if they want to make a quick enough comeback to where it won't throw them into the late game by the time they actually get the comeback. But at the same time here, still very risky choice of a strategy to do here by NC. Usually you would stick back, just kind of wait on your midpoint or your home point and wait for an opportunity to win a 1v1, but that was not the case at all. NC just wanted to dive right in with all that damage they had on their team. Not too surprising they chose to go down that route, but still just a very risky strategy nonetheless. Meanwhile, back over here at the blue team home node, we do have Heck taking on Spoon Girl. Spoon Girl popping the crate and all over here to try and take down Heck, but it seems so far at least it has been to no avail here, and it's looking rather good so far for Heck to take this 1v1, but keep in mind there's still plenty of cooldowns that I'm sure Spoon Girl can bring on into play, and as well we don't really know the status of Heck's cooldowns, so to check those out very quickly, he really doesn't have much left, to be honest here. So Heck does need to finish off this 1v1 very quickly, or things are going to get very bad. And unfortunately, as we do have Tort coming in, it is going to end not in his favor, even though it was looking very, very good there for the start. It did expenditure his cooldowns a little bit too quickly. Spoongirl being a little bit more preservative did end up coming out on the top there towards the end of things. Top buff spawned, and once more it seemed to go pretty much uncontestedly over towards Team LagLife, and I think again there really wasn't anyone else contesting that. Thrown at the bottom buff though, it is very much a different story with the Tui coming in to test Mallet on that. Interesting choice having your Necromancer go down to the bottom buff to channel that. You haven't really seen that before. We usually always see kind of a tankier player like a Soldier's Handbow or say even a Bunker Guardian going down to ensure that it stays stalemated, but having the Necro come down should be a very good choice. Specifically against Mallet is actually a pretty good choice to have go down there too, as once again he is very much going to be a pretty potent player against Mallet. Keep in mind that Mallet has a lot of Condy cleanse, but the second that goes away, it's really going to hurt him. And because of the heavy boon usage we see from the staff elementals there, things like Corrupt Boon as well as the Plague Signet of Spite here are just going to be so good against Mallet. It can completely lock him down if Mallet is not appropriately using his boons at the right time there, or really just in general is not watching out for those sorts of things. But we'll move away from this 1v1 for just a few moments, as we do have another big fight happening back over here towards the temple. It is once again going to be Needs as well as Torrent, as well as Spoongirl too from the red team, taking on 2 guys from the blue team, Riggedy Wrecked and Renki Zamora. Unfortunately, I do believe that red team kind of has an adequate defense squad here, with both of the NGs kind of acting as enough of a buffer to force blue team off this node. Having Heck and Rin stay here probably isn't the best of an idea. I don't think they actually have enough to take these guys down. So with that said, they may want to consider pushing out of here, but nonetheless, it is allowing them to keep the pressure on their opponents. So if this is the option here, not necessarily to get the full cap, but just to keep the D cap going, that as well could be a pretty valid strategy. Keep in mind too that Avi, even keeping Avi with the pressure in mind back over here at the temple, actually only went for a D cap over at his home, though back over there at the altar. He has not full cap that. He has had to turn around because we see Spoongirl going back over there to try and claim the cap once again, but still, he wanted to get over here. He wanted to support his teammates. So you can just keep in mind how much of a severity the situation is going on back over here at the temple. Mid is still being held as well, pretty uncontestedly in favor of No Clue, and it's been that way for some time. So with that in mind, and we're actually, no, it looked like we were going to see it, but Kalik having a bit of a Kalik being a little bit indecisive there with that, and it looks like he finally will be moving off of mid. If not, he is just checking spawns and whatnot over there too. But again, with him being on mid here, he has been here for quite a long time. But look at what happened down bot. Did Atui get a 1v2? I just saw 2 dead bodies from the red team, so I'm not entirely sure, but to be completely honest, Tatui might have 1v2 down there. If not, he might have gotten support from someone else. I didn't see anyone else heading from the bottom, fighting from the bottom up towards middle though, so to be completely honest, we might have had a 1v2 from Atui and missed it. Regardless though, he got the buff. It did obviously give blue team that little bit of an extra buffer, but they've already squandered it, losing all 3 of their caps over here. They are trying to reinforce them all now. Tatui is going to go up against Malad once more for control of the mid cap. We have a stillness spawn as well, and once again, nobody from the blue team there gets in there in time in order to stop the cap from happening. We did have Heck on his way, but again, nobody there in time, and that's going to be a pretty huge loss again for the blue team, as they really need to use that buff. Red team has stayed alive almost exclusively through the usage of that buff so far in this game, so if they were able to steal that away, that could have been huge for them. The 2v2s to check in on those though, back over here at the blue team home node, it's looking like red team will be taking that in just a second, with both Spoongirl and Torrent having a very successful 2v2 against Rin and Avi, knocking them both out at the same exact time there. They're going to get that full cap in as well, get the double ticks going off here too. Blue team, once again, with having a Tui knock out Malad just a few seconds ago there, they will be getting the cap there, but at the same time, it's still at a disadvantage as they are going up against a 2 cap from the red squad, with them having control over that middle buff. And then back over here, as it has been for quite some time, we have a pretty big stalemate going on with, I believe it is 2 members of the blue team fighting off against 3 members of the red team. Blue team does have their tankiest player here on Kalak, but at the same time, there is not much progress being made over here by the players from No Clue. And to be honest, like, this was still a very, very close game for the entirety of it, but again, those buffs were pretty much what has made this entire game so far, is the fact that we just have not seen No Clue going for that top buff in time. They keep forgetting to go for that for some reason, or for some reason, they just don't have anyone ever available to move off of a point and go for that, so they keep ceding it over to their opponents, and with that in mind, it has really just killed them. Had they have even denied that last buff here, we would have been seeing a much, much closer game to where there would have been a much larger opportunity for No Clue to come back. There is definitely still that option on the table, but it is extremely unlikely given the current status of the scores. 476 to 412. Red team just needs to turtle a node for about 40 more seconds, kills not included, and they will have victory in this game. But we'll have to wait and see here. As you can see, the health pools are getting somewhat low over on the side of Team LagLife here. Serenity Sky, as you're going to see over there, for some reason, actually, he went into the down state, but actually does not appear that is the case here. Regardless, I think Kalak will get the lockdown there, and yeah, he is going to be able to knock him out, but at the same time, Red team has stolen control of middle here, too. So with that said, Team LagLife there, just having better buff control, and as well, stalemating the fights and keeping the caps rolling long enough in order to take a victory is going to be scoring the 2-1 victory here in the featured round of 8 game, which means that they will be moving on to the semifinals to take on, I believe they will be taking on Outplayed by Children, and indeed that is the case, guys. So with that said, the game between Outplayed by Children and Team LagLife is going to be the game we'll be showing next on stream. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break so we can do the map selections as well as get the teams into the arena here, but as soon as that 10 minutes has expired, we're coming right back to you with some more Guild Wars 2 action. So stick around for the continuation, guys, of the Misspedia Weekly Cup number 16. Be right back.